Being able to own a firearm is a constitutional right. However, what if the person buying the firearm had no idea how to safely use it? This brings into question just how easy the sale of firearms is in America without proper training. If I wanted to, I could go buy a shotgun right now, submit to a background test, and register the gun and be on my way without any knowledge on how to operate the weapon afterwards. As my statement of purpose, I state a firearm safety course should be required with any legal purchase of a firearm by federal mandate. My first point, I will be discussing my ill and identifying my issue. My second point, I will be discussing who I believe is responsible for my blame and how the responsible party handles the issue. My third point, I will be stating my solution to the problem and how the people responsible can fix the problem. My fourth one, I will be discussing the cost-benefit analysis of the problem and how the solution affects it. Now that I've discussed what my debate will cover, I will move on to the ill with my issue. Currently in the United States, there is no federal mandate for a firearm safety course, nor is there a federal mandate for the licensing of gun owners or purchasers on firearms. When dealing with the issue on firearms at a federal level, it appears that the laws for the country on firearms are more than lax. Most of the decisions for gun laws in the country are decided by a state-by-state level. By federal law, if an individual can pass a background check, there is nothing stopping them from owning a firearm if they are of age. Even then, this only applies to a licensed dealer. If the dealer is not licensed, then a background check is not required and a person may acquire a firearm and may continue on their way. At a state level, the majority of states do require the licensing of firearms along with a background check. However, not all states require this. Some states, in fact, do have licensing laws, background checks, and a required safety course as well. I believe that it should not be just for these states, but for the country as a whole. Now that I've discussed my ill with the issue, I'll move on to the blame, who I believe is responsible for this. Although in the states there are people who agree with this sentiment, at a federal level there are few legislators who are willing to pass such legislation. There are many activist groups that also lobby for less gun restrictions. Along with currently elected legislators, these lobbyists can share similar sentiment with them. Groups such as the NRA, known as the National Rifle Association, and many others donate every year to lobby for their beliefs. In a report from PolitiFact, they state, if you add it all up, candidate and party contributions, independent expenditures, and lobbying, the NRA has spent $203.2 million on political activities since 1998. This is an extremely high number spent for lobbying and campaigning activities in such an area. Legislators and lobbyist groups are the ones that have the power to change required laws. In order for progress to be made in gun safety, it would have to pass through Congress where it can then be federally mandated. However, with such resistance, issues such as gun safety can be met with a large stalemate. Now that I've discussed who the blame lies with this problem, I will move on to what the cure is for this issue. A federally required gun safety course in the United States could be passed in order to reduce firearm accidents across the country. It states that gun safety courses are required. There is a large difference in the amount of firearm accidents than those in states where a course is not required. From an article posted by the Committee on the Judiciary, they state a study by the Center for American Progress found the 10 states with the weakest gun laws had 3 times more gun violence than the 10 states with the toughest gun laws. From the reports posted by the government themselves, they proved that more gun safety and stricter gun laws prevent more firearm incidents than those without such laws. The solution has been proven by statistical data. However, these lobbyists and legislators with separate interests do not approve of such legislation. In a report by Gun Policy in America, they report a 2016 survey of national sample of gun owners found that 35% of respondents believed that their storage practices were influenced by a gun safety training course. If a gun safety training course does in fact lead to a higher percentage of individuals with a firearm being safer with the weapon, I believe that this can only benefit the individuals that may be victim of an unfortunate firearm incident by preventing such behavior. Now that the cure has been described, I'll move on to the cost benefit of such legislation potentially passing. Annually, there are billions spent on individuals that have been victim due to a firearm incident. A portion of that is of firearm accidents from people who did not know what they were doing with the weapon and caused the tragedy. Although there are thousands of deaths due to gun violence annually, there are also hundreds that are all just from firearm accidents alone. If a gun safety course could prevent even just a handful of those, then I believe that alone would be beneficial to the country and to the people affected by it. In an article posted by CNBC, they state Representative Carolyn B. Maloney, Vice Chair of the House Joint Economic Committee, published a new report Wednesday that estimates gun violence costs the U.S. $229 billion a year. If even a portion of that could have been avoided by a simple course in instructing the basics for firearms, then the U.S. would be saving millions of dollars in the least at preventing medical visits or even the cost of hospitalizing such individuals for such accidents. The data is beneficial to such legislation, providing a solid argument in favor of gun safety rather than none at all at a federal level. In conclusion, I'm going to restate my purpose. A firearm safety course should be required with any legal purchase of a firearm by federal mandate. In reviewing my points, based on the information above, I believe that even though the legislation may face backlash, I think it is still beneficial in preventing firearm tragedies by providing the necessary knowledge for such a weapon. In my ill, I identified the problem that there are firearm accidents that potentially could be avoided every year by providing knowledge in operating a firearm. In my blame, I detailed the lobbyists and congressmen who I believe are responsible for keeping such legislation from passing. In my cure, I propose legislation and data that is beneficial to gun safety courses and proper firearm safety techniques. In my closing statement, through proper care and a disregard for money and rather a focus on safety, I believe that the deaths of hundreds could be prevented yearly by passing legislation that would benefit all of those who are not educated on the responsibility of possessing a firearm. Thank you.